You have used AI to write a report, prepare a presentation, summarize a meeting, and answer a client email, all in one morning. It was fast, it was clean, and somewhere in the back of your mind, a quiet question appeared. If it can do all of this, what exactly am I for? That is not a small question, and Postman wrote the answer to it in his very last book. Welcome to the final episode of the Postman Files on Technology and Career. I'm Marcus. In episode 1, we use Technopoly to name the system, the culture that surrenders human judgment to technology and metrics. In episode 2, we used amusing ourselves to death to understand what that culture has done to our minds, our focus, our attention, our ability to connect. Today, we build the answer. We use Postman's last book, Building a Bridge to the 18th Century, published in 1999, one of the most practical and hopeful things he ever wrote. Our question today is, how do I stay valuable and human in an AI-saturated future? Let's finish this series with something you can actually use. Segment 1. Why Postman looked backward to go forward. When Postman wrote this book, the internet was just arriving. AI was not yet a daily reality, but he already saw the central problem of the information age clearly. He said, "We have enormous power to create and distribute information, but we have almost no shared framework for deciding what information is valuable, what is true, or what serves human flourishing. We have the engine. We lost the steering wheel." His solution surprised many people. He said, look back. Specifically, look at the 18th century, the period in Europe and America known as the Enlightenment. Why that century? Because those thinkers, people like Voltaire, John Locke, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, faced a similar challenge. Old authorities were collapsing. New information was arriving faster than society could process it. The question was, how do you build a good life and a good society when everything is changing? And they built real answers. They built frameworks for reason, for scientific thinking, for civic debate, for education that produces free minds. They were not perfect. Postman does not idealize them. But they had a method for facing uncertainty, and we have mostly forgotten it. His proposal for modern professionals is not to copy the 18th century. It is to borrow its habits of mind and bring them into the future. Segment 2. The question asker versus the answer giver. This is the heart of the book, and it connects directly to AI. Postman makes a sharp distinction in his view of education, and by extension, in his view of career development. There are two kinds of professionals. The first kind is an answer giver. They are efficient, reliable, and fast. They know the process. They follow the best practice. They produce the expected output. They are very good at what they were trained to do. The second kind is a question asker. They are not always the fastest, but they ask, is this the right problem? Are we solving the right thing? Who designed this process, and does it still make sense? What are we missing? They create discomfort, but also clarity. Now, here is the central professional reality of our moment. AI is the most powerful answer-giving machine ever built. It is faster, cheaper, and more consistent than any human answer giver. If your primary professional value is producing expected outputs, documents, summaries, recommendations, code, analyses, that value is under serious pressure. But AI cannot yet ask the right question in a specific human context. It cannot feel the political tension in a room. It cannot understand why a client is afraid. It cannot see that a company is solving the wrong problem entirely. It cannot hold two contradictory truths in mind and help a team navigate the space between them. Those are question asker skills, and Postman says they are built, not born. They require specific habits of mind that come from a specific kind of education and practice. He also reminds us, with a slight reference to what we covered in Technopoly, that we will be tempted to delegate even our questioning to AI. To ask the machine, what questions should I be asking? That is the final surrender. The question asker who outsources their questions is just an answer giver with an extra step. Segment 3. 4 Enlightenment Habits for Modern Professionals. Postman outlines several habits from the Enlightenment tradition that remain deeply practical. Here are 4, translated for your professional life today. Habit 1. Reasoned skepticism. The Enlightenment thinkers didn't accept authority just because it was official. They asked, what is the evidence? What is the argument? Can I verify this? At work, that means, when a consultant presents a framework, when a data report says, the trend is clear, when your AI tool gives you a confident answer, apply a calm, respectful skepticism. Ask, how is this conclusion reached? What assumptions sit underneath it? Habit 2. Serious debate. In the 18th century, educated people wrote long letters and held public debates. They expected to be challenged, and they welcomed it. In your work life, that looks like creating spaces where the goal is to find the truth, not to win the argument. Meetings where someone is explicitly asked to argue the opposite position. Decisions that are tested against the strongest objection, not just celebrated. Habit 3. Long-form thinking. The Enlightenment was a culture of books, essays, and extended arguments. Postman valued this deeply, and we saw why in episode 2. Short-form thinking produces short-term decisions. Long-form thinking is where strategy, creativity, and wisdom actually live. The practical translation? Protect time for reading, writing, and thinking in long form, not as a luxury, as a professional discipline. Habit 4. Investment in the next generation. This is Postman's most personal call. The Enlightenment thinkers thought seriously about what kind of human being education should produce. They asked, what does a good person look like? What habits of mind do we want in the next generation? For you, that means, how are you mentoring? How are you developing the people around you? Are you rewarding their answers or their questions? That act of investment is one of the most distinctly human things you can do, and it becomes more valuable as AI automates more individual tasks. Segment 4. Actionable Insights. 3 final actions, 1 for each habit of mind. Postman calls us to recover. Action 1. The question quota. In your next 3 meetings, set yourself a private challenge. Ask at least one question that reframes the problem rather than advances the existing solution. Not, how do we do this faster? But, should we be doing this at all? Is this the right goal? Write down the questions afterward. Notice which ones shifted the conversation and which ones were ignored. That pattern will teach you a lot about your team's culture and your own courage. Action 2. Your AI partnership rule. Inspired by the Technopoly audit from episode 1, go one step further. Write down, right now, after this episode, one clear rule for how you use AI in your professional work. Something like, AI drafts, I decide. Or, AI organizes data, I find meaning. Or, AI summarizes, I judge relevance. Share that rule with a colleague or on your team. When you name your rule publicly, you hold yourself to it, and you invite others to think about their rules too. Action 3. Praise a question. This week, find one person around you, a junior colleague, a team member, a student, or even your own child, and explicitly praise them not for giving a right answer, but for asking a good question. Say it directly. That was a great question. Most people have been trained their whole lives that answers are rewarded and questions are risky. One moment of honest praise can begin to shift that. And that shift, at scale, is what Postman believed could protect human intelligence in the age of machines. Closing and series finale. Let me close this series by connecting all 3 books into one simple message. Technopoly tells you the world around you has a hidden belief system, that efficiency is the highest good and that technology should make your decisions. You can name it now. Naming it is the first act of resistance. Amusing ourselves to death tells you that same world has been redesigning your mind, fragmenting your attention, replacing depth with speed, and teaching you to perform connection instead of practice it. You can reclaim your attention. But reclamation is daily work. Building a bridge to the 18th century tells you the skills that will keep you irreplaceable are old skills: reasoning, questioning, debating, mentoring, and thinking in long form. These are not soft skills. They are the hardest skills in an AI-saturated world. And they are yours to build. Neil Postman did not write these books to make you anxious. He wrote them because he believed that a person who understands the system can live and work with dignity inside it. That is the goal of this series, not to escape technology, to remain human within it. Thank you for listening to the Postman Files on technology and career. If one of these episodes changed the way you see your work, share it with someone who is asking the same questions. Take care of your attention. It is your most important professional asset. Don't forget to subscribe and watch out for the next Book Takeaways for Professional Growth podcast episode. Keep growing.